Hi everyone, Mags here. Welcome to my second tutorial. In this episode I'm going to show you how to do stocking stitch, which is knit one, purl one row. I'm also going to show you how to do ribbing, which you can use when making just about anything, but commonly seen on jumpers, cardigans and beanies. So without further ado, let's go.
Okay, so you obviously start with casting on, and I'm only going to cast on 10 stitches. So I'm using size 6 needles because they're going to be easier for you to see. So let's cast on 10 stitches. Okay. And doing it through a camera is not easy. That's one. Oh dear. 2. 3. 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to count them now because I'm not sure if I've already done 10. Right, 2, 4, 6, 8. I've only done 8. 9 and 10. So, like in the previous video, depending on your pattern, you either start with a knit row, or they advise you to start with a purl row, and it's all to do with the actual pattern that you're going to end up with. So I'm going to start with the knit row. This kind of stitch is stocking stitch. A plain just knit every row is garter stitch. So start knit row, oops, come down, get rid of that tail, knit, there we go, keep going. So with the knit row you're going in from the left of the thread or yarn, knitting over and coming out. From the left, knit over, come out, which is exactly what I showed you last time. Oops, twisted my yarn a bit. That's okay, you can just twist it back. There we go. Right, and if you are concerned, you can count your rows again. Sorry, if you are concerned, you can count your stitches again. Now, stocking stitch is knit one row, purl one row, and in order to purl a row, you're going the opposite way. So you're going from the right of the stitch, still yarning over the right needle from the front and under, and then you cast it onto the right needle. There we go. So from the right over and cast it on. There we go. There we are. So this is how you do purl one, knit one for stocking stitch. Once I get to the end, I will stop and I will come back once I've knitted 10 rows, and I will show you what the pattern looks like as opposed to the previous pattern. Okay, so in from the right, over and off. In from the right, and you'll notice that your right needle is in the front of the work all the time. In, yarn over, off to the end one, yarn over and off. Right, so that's your first purl row. I'll just straighten everything out. Alright, so once I've knit 10 rows, I'll come back and show you what the pattern looks like. Okay, so I've knitted 10 rows, 10 stitches, 10 rows, and this is the back of your work, and you can tell that because it's sort of bobbly, and the front of your work is nice and neat. Looks like nice straight knitted lines with a crisscross. So your purl row is the back of your work, your knit row is the front. And because I've finished on a purl row, and how you tell which row you've finished on, if you put your needle in your left hand and whichever pattern is facing you is the next stitch that you need to do. So the nice front of the work is facing me, so you need to do the next stitch as a knit stitch. Yeah, if you'd ended with this row facing you, then you would be working on the back of the work, the purl row. Some patterns you may have to do all purl rows because that's the nature of the pattern that you're doing. Some you may have to do 2 knit rows, 2 purl rows, 2 knit rows, 2 purl rows. Again, that's in keeping with whatever the pattern is that you're working on. I've finished on the purl row, and so now I'm going to cast off on a knit row, and you knit and cast off in the same way that I showed you on tutorial 1. You knit a stitch and the next stitch, and you pick up the back stitch and yarn it over. It can be a bit tricky to get your needle in. It doesn't help that I'm working and looking through a camera. Come on. Let me just pull it a wee bit so I've got a bit more leverage. Alright, success. And so you keep the second row on your needle and you cast off the back row all the way along, trying to ensure that you get into the second needle and you cast it off. We're nearly there, nearly at the end. There we go, last one. There we are, last one. And I'm not sure if I showed you this correctly last time, but when you get to the end, you can stretch it a wee bit, pull it, right, and you cut the yarn with a blunt pair of scissors. You pull it through and you tie it off like that. Now when you finish the project, what you generally do, bit of a loose stitch that one, when you finish the project, what you generally do is you hide it within the work. So you would put darning needle on and kind of loop it through, and that's when you'd cut it off, and it would keep it secure within the work and neater. So that's stocking stitch, and as I've said, it's really nice and neat compared to garter stitch, which is the purely knitting stitch. So that's your purl side, the back side of your work, and that's your knitted side. And you can make some really, really nice cardigans and jumpers in that kind of stitch. So that's stocking stitch. Right, this is how you rib your work. And ribbing generally is used at the end of cuffs, round the neck and round the bottom of the work. It makes it look much neater, tends to cinch the work in a bit so that you don't have loose floppy arms or loose around the bottom or round the neck, and it generally makes the work look much neater. So with ribbing, what you do is, I've cast on 10 stitches. So this method is knit 2, purl 2. So you knit 1, knit 2, and then you bring the wool forward, purl 2, 1, two, put the yarn back, knit 2, bring your yarn forward, purl 2, put your yarn back, knit 1, 2, and this is where you start to count your rows, because you need to be able to see the front and back of your row. Right, so you pass the left needle over, and because you're doing purl 1, purl 2 and you want it to look uniform, you start with purl 2 on this row, yarn over, knit 2, bring yarn forward, purl 2, knit 2, yarn forward, purl 2, 1, 2, and whichever you end with, you know that your next stitch is going to be the opposite. So the next row is going to be knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, then turn it and it's purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. Right, so I'm going to stop there. I've showed you to do the first 2 rows. and I'm going to knit a few rows and then I'll show you what ribbing looks like. So I'll be back in a moment. So I'm just casting off. I don't know if I've just recorded or it wasn't recording, but I will show you the ribbing again at the end if indeed I wasn't recording previously because my camera decided to close and I'm not sure. Oops, what am I doing? Right, that's what I'm doing. I'm not sure if it closed because I wasn't recording or just decided to give up the ghost. Okay. Just a very small sample of ribbing. And the last one. Take that one over that one. Do the same. Cut with blunt scissors. These are new scissors as well. They're not very good. Pull it through and cast off. Right, so there we go. So with ribbing you end up with a really nice prominent knit row. Back stitch is your purl row. And again, you keep it uniform so that you've always got your knitted row, your purl row, your knitted row. Obviously on a larger sample it would carry on, and as I said, on a larger sample when you're doing a pattern you wouldn't cast off, you would carry on knitting in the pattern of your sweater, your jumper, your hat, your scarf or mittens or whatever it is that you're making. So that would be either at the end of the waist, the end of the sleeves, or round the neck. And as you see, it's a nice pattern. So that's ribbing.
Just a little aside, I forgot to mention that usually when you're doing ribbing, it's at the beginning of your work. So you do your ribbing and then you start with the pattern for the rest of whatever it is that you're knitting. Say it was a beanie, you'd do the ribbing first and then you'd carry on in stocking stitch, cable, whatever pattern that you're planning on doing to complete the work. So I just thought I'd mention that because I didn't seem to explain that. So that was the stocking stitch, the ribbing, and next episode what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tutorial on reading the patterns. I'll do an abbreviation list and I will show you an example of what each abbreviation actually means in a practical way, rather than just saying, oh, this says that you knit two together. I will show you an example of what they mean by knit two together. Yarning forward, I think I've already covered in this one, because with the purl you have to yarn forward so that you can do a purl stitch. There's many other abbreviations and what they actually mean, like knitwise, purlwise, cast off, cast on, and many others. But I will show you exactly what they mean by all the abbreviations by showing you an example of each one. I'm hoping to be able to put that video out at the same time as this one, so that you have more than just the one. And the 3 tutorials that I've done so far, I'm hoping that they can get you on the road to actually starting your own projects. That's my hope anyway. and also I'm going to do a video on how to correct mistakes, because when we're starting out we all make mistakes. I've done it, every knitter's done it, and you need to know what to do to correct it, especially if you're nearly finished a project and you've knitted for hours and hours, and then suddenly you realise you've dropped a stitch halfway through. You need to know how to correct that without having to start again, pull anything out, because that's one of the most frustrating things for a knitter, when you realise you've made a mistake. So I'm looking forward to seeing all your work if you are going to be doing your own projects. I really hope that you are going to subscribe. I'd appreciate some subscribers, please. I'm trying to grow my channel, and in a later episode I will be showing you how to use a circular knitting machine. So looking forward to the next ones, and hopefully to get your comments and for you to subscribe, and we can start our own little community. So bye for now from Mags.